There's a particular kind of moment that happens so often to founders who run premium e-commerce brands. You might have had it yourself. And it's the moment when you realize, usually quite suddenly, often late on a Sunday night, that you're working harder than you ever did at your old job for less money and with a whole lot less freedom of your time and not really doing the part of the business that you actually love. That moment is the reason that I'm now seeing an entire industry of grifters selling you that original dream back. I'm sure you've seen these ads around. Build a multi seven-figure business in 90 days using AI, working only 3 hours or less a day while you get to sit on the beach and have a luxurious, lavish lifestyle. I'm seeing ads like this with this kind of promise everywhere right now. I want to talk to you today. Forgive me if you can hear that noise in the background. Normally it's quite quiet in my office here. But I want to talk to you today about why you can't actually have what they're selling. More importantly, though, about what you can have, which is a lot closer to your original dream than you might think. So, hi, listeners, I'm Kath Langman. You are, of course, listening to the Brand Marketing Show. If you've been in my audience and community for a while now, you might have read my email that I sent a few days ago. And you'll know that I've been turning over a phrase recently, the pub test, as in, would this claim hold up if you described it honestly to ordinary people in a pub? Would they buy it? Today's episode applies that question to one of the most overblown promises currently doing the rounds. But before we get there, I also want to start with something more important, which is why this promise has such strong appeal in the first place. Because I think most of the founders falling for it aren't being foolish, they're just tired. They're working harder than they ever did before they started the business, and the promise is targeting a real and reasonable desire that needs to be taken seriously. I've been there too, more than once. So I get it. And, the truth about why most founders I know started their premium brand in the first place isn't because they wanted to become marketing professionals on the side. It wasn't because they wanted to spend their evenings staring at the Meta Ads dashboard. And it definitely wasn't because they wanted to work more hours for less money with less holidays than their old corporate job. It was almost always two things together. Number one, they had a product or a brand or a creative innovation that they really wanted to bring into the world, something that they really cared about, something with their thumbprint on it, something that wouldn't exist unless they made it exist. And secondly, they wanted more freedom and flexibility than the structured world of employment was offering them. Many of you are like me, you wanted to be able to do the school pickups and go to the school concerts and important assemblies and go to doctor's appointments or other fun appointments in the week rather than taking up your entire weekend. The ability to design your own week, to not have to ask for permission to take a Friday off and to work in the time of the day when you're actually most clear-headed instead of being in a meeting that didn't need to exist. That's the founder's original deal with themselves. I'll do something I genuinely care about, and in return, I'll have more freedom over my time. Those two things together, the meaningful work plus flexibility. And then somewhere a few years into the founder's journey, a lot of founders kind of look up and realize that neither part of the deal is really working out in the way that they imagined. The product they care about is fine. Often it's actually doing really well, but they're not really spending their time on it anymore. They're spending their time on everything else. Marketing, invoicing, customer service, the website breaking or, needing a complete redesign, or the ads that aren't converting, or the emails that aren't doing, or saying quite what they meant, or rewriting Instagram captions 4 times, or whatever it is. And the freedom that they came here for, worse than it was at the old job, working evenings, working weekends, holding the whole business in their head at all times, and quietly resentful of friends who get to clock off at 5:30. That moment of realization when you look at your week and notice that the deal you made with yourself is not the deal that you're getting to live right now is the moment a particular kind of advertising is designed to find you. The promise is you can have the deal back, build your dream business in 90 days. AI does the work, 3 hours a day from you, financial freedom by Christmas, you'll be at the beach, the original deal restored. And what I want to actually say here, because I don't think it gets said often enough, if you've been working harder than you've ever worked in your life and the result has been less money and less freedom than you used to have, of course that promise is tempting. It would be strange if it weren't. The desire is legitimate. The exhaustion is real. The wanting your original deal back is fair enough. But, AI grifters are not actually going to sell you that deal. And what's worse, they're getting in the way of you finding the route that does actually exist. Let me apply the pub test to the AI in 90 days promise, because it totally falls apart when you do. Those of you listening, if you're not from Australia and you don't know what I mean by the pub test, it's a phrase that we use, and it often, in fact, probably actually originally related to claims made by politicians. And it basically just means, would this claim hold up if you described it honestly to ordinary people in a pub? Would the regular John Smith or Jane Smith understand what it meant? Would they accept it as reasonable, or would they immediately spot the rort? So picture the founder being sold to, and she has her brand supposedly built in 90 days with AI doing the heavy lifting. You get to just clock in for 3 hours a day, and the rest of your time you get to spend at the beach. But now picture her customer. Maybe it's a premium skincare buyer. What does she pay for? She's paying for formulation expertise, years of testing, a founder who can tell her where the actives came from and why she chose them, why they work, a story about why this brand exists. A premium jewelry customer would be paying for the beautiful design, for the craft, for the provenance, who made the piece, the story of the design. She's buying meaning as much as material. Or maybe a premium food buyer. They would be paying for origin, quality, maybe the particular cuisine, definitely the founder's actual obsession with the producers, with the recipes. You only have to look at the likes of Recipe Tin Eats to get a sense of that kind of obsession. A premium homewares buyer, as an example, would be paying for distinctiveness and meaning, the story behind the design, or maybe the hand that shaped it, the personalized experience. In every premium product category, the buyer is paying for things that cannot be generated artificially. She's paying for the founder's actual care, for the years of work, and for the meaning that accumulates around a brand built by a real human who actually loves what he or she does. The AI in 90 days promise sell the product that by definition cannot have any of these qualities, even if the AI could spin up a website, find a supplier, write copy, run ads. The thing it builds doesn't have the qualities of a premium buyer is paying for, so it becomes a category error. Which means, the grifters aren't selling you the route to freedom plus a great brand. They're selling you the route to a generic brand, the sum of, the average that no premium buyer would ever actually want to pay money for. So the deal that you might come here for, meaningful work plus more freedom, cannot possibly be delivered with that kind of promise. And, even on its own terms, it doesn't work. What it builds is the brand isn't the brand that you set out to build. So the pub test reveals it pretty quickly, and the grifters are selling you a fantasy that contradicts itself, and it's a total rort. I'm going to get off my high horse now. Here is what I really want to spend most of today's episode, because it's the bigger problem isn't that the AI in 90 days promise doesn't work. The bigger problem is that while you're chasing it, you might actually be missing the route to freedom that really does exist. So what does work? What's the alternative? So I'm going to slow down a little bit here, because I think that the real answer is genuinely closer to your original deal that you made yourself than you currently believe it is. The thing that builds a great premium brand is a series of well-made decisions stacked together over time. Hundreds of decisions, thousands eventually. They will be decisions about brand positioning, products, customers, pricing, channels, partnerships, hires, fires, brand direction, what to say yes to, what to say no to. And here's the bit that doesn't get said enough: decisions made by one person alone under pressure indefinitely while running every other part of the business at the same time are not going to be the same level of decisions made collaboratively by two informed people sitting down together with proper attention on the problem. Now, I'm not advocating death by PowerPoint here. I'm not talking about more meetings. I think that the corporate world has its own version of this dysfunction where decisions never actually get made because everyone is in a meeting about the meeting and no one wants to take responsibility for an actual decision. But what I mean is the difference between, on the one hand, a founder making or trying to make a strategic budget decision at 9 p.m. on a Sunday alone, tired, with no one to test their thinking against. And on the other hand, the same founder making the same decision in a 60-minute working session with someone who knows the business and can press her, on the parts maybe that, of the thinking that might need pressing. The second decision will be better. Systematically over time, the decisions made in collaboration with someone good will be better than the decisions made alone. And, there's just no way around it. The two informed minds will outperform one, especially under pressure and uncertainty. Where it compounds is if your decisions are systematically, say, 10% better because you're not making them alone, then your brand and your performance is systematically 10% better. And that's not overall, it's day after day, month after month, year after year. The compounding, like, though, imagine the results in your business compounding like the rapidly rising interest rates that we're dealing with right now. I mean, how incredible. The other thing about compounding benefit here is decisions made in a working session with a strategic partner actually don't live in your own head at 11 p.m. in the same way. Decisions made in collaboration get carried cognitively by two people. So you're not the only one with the mental load. That mental load really drops, and we all know how exhausting that mental load is. It means that the structural shift to working with a strategic partner is not just about how you build a better brand more quickly, it's also about how you get your freedom and flexibility of time back. And, none of this AI fantasy freedom of doing nothing while a robot builds your business. And you all know, if you've listened to this podcast over the last year, I'm not anti-AI. We use it and advocate using it in certain ways a lot. But, the real achievable, sustainable freedom of doing the part of the business that you actually love, and only you will know what that is. But for most of my listeners, it's the brand, it's the creative direction, it's, innovating with their product, it's the customers. And, while someone whose job it is to actually hold the marketing and the growth strategy holds that alongside you. And so that's going to be much closer to your original ideal than you might currently believe. And it is structurally available. What does it look like in practice? I mean, nobody who's actually built a great premium brand will tell you that they did it alone, right? They all had partners of some kind. They had advisors, they had, contractors or freelancers or strategic advisors or team members as they grow, of course. They had people whose actual job it was to do the thinking alongside them. And they might have had a creative collaborator who challenged the visual direction. They might have had a marketing partner who held the structural questions while they held the brand questions. What I'm describing here is like that African proverb about parenting and bringing up children. It's like they call it a village, and it's not like I'm just going to delegate all of my parenting to the village. And I certainly don't mean 100 people. I don't mean a corporate team structure if we use this village analogy for building a business. And I certainly don't mean meetings for the sake of meetings, but I do mean at minimum to informed people thinking together about the most important decisions in a brand, specifically the founder who holds the brand vision and the customer intuition and the creative direction and the product, at least vision, if not, the creative ideas for innovation there. And a senior strategic partner who holds the growth strategy and the structural marketing decisions and the cross-channel coordination. That's the village I'm talking about here that helps you to share the load of raising the baby brand together. Obviously, we don't want to build a baby brand, but if we relate, you'll get what I mean. Anyway, as you grow, obviously, you need to grow that team alongside it, in particular to help with execution, but start with that strategic partner. Historically, this isn't novel, by the way. Every premium brand that you can think of was built this way. The founder had a strategic partner. Sometimes it was a co-founder or a business partner. Sometimes it was a CMO, chief marketing officer. Sometimes it was a long-term agency or advisor. The pattern is the same, though. What's changed in the last 15 years is the rise of this solo founder myth, mostly imported, I think, from American startup culture, where the idea that you should be doing everything yourself, that asking for help is a failure of grit, and that the smart move is to just hustle and grind alone until you scale. I mean, that was bad advice in the startup context, and it's catastrophic advice in the premium brand context, because premium brands are not built by grind. They are built by careful, considered, well-made decisions stacked together over time. I think that the solo founder myth is a Silicon Valley export that really doesn't fit the shape of premium brand building, and it's also the same myth that whole AI and 90-day grifters are trying to sell you on. Both of these concepts promise that you can DIY it all, and the grifters just add a ChatGPT subscription. But moving on, I want to tell you about the lovely Amanda from Belle Art. Belle Art is just this stunning brand. Her story will show what this actually can look like in practice for a premium growing brand. But before I tell you her story, let me tell you about Belle Art. So Belle Art is a home and giftwares brand. It's Belle Art, BELLART.com.au if you want to check them out. They make these beautiful home and giftwares featuring Amanda's mother. Amanda's mother was a artist. She would paint the most incredible original artworks of native Australian flora, beautiful pieces with the kind of you could just, it was just so tangible, so realistic depictions of the native Australian flora. You could just about reach out and touch the flowers. So the artworks were by Amanda's mum, and then Amanda has turned these beautiful artworks into these gorgeous home and giftwares. It's an Australian story, really. The customer base are people that specifically value all of that. And so Amanda's been a partner of ours for several years now. But when she first came to us, she was doing what so many founders I know are doing right now, DIYing everything in the business, holding every decision in her own head, including all of the marketing stuff, working harder than the business really should have required, trying her best with Meta and Google Ads on her own, but really not succeeding there because it was just such a foreign thing to her. She was not a marketing professional coming into her business, and just really feeling like she was constantly second guessing herself, definitely not living the deal that she originally made with herself, in other words. And I want to read to you what she just said to us a week or so ago. It's honestly the truest description I've heard of what changes when you bring proper strategic support into a brand. And, certainly what pretty much all of you are no doubt wanting to enjoy in your own business. So Amanda said, Belle Art has grown consistently each year. Our website was changed right from the get-go, and it has been the best move we've made. The combination of Shopify, Meta, Google, Klaviyo, and Productpreneur ensure our monthly sales are increasing reliably, and we are also increasing our product offering. Belle Art moved out of the house into warehouse premises, plus we now employ a team of staff. The biggest change for me, this is Amanda talking, of course, is how confident I now feel with my marketing. I used to attempt my own marketing with Meta and Google, but not being an expert, I never succeeded like we are succeeding today. Marketing was a big drain on my time, and while I knew in theory what needed doing, I just couldn't do it all myself. Outsourcing this part has freed up my time to concentrate on other parts of the business. I feel like I have a full marketing department at my disposal, and it's a terrific addition to my business. I personally can choose to work or not work rather than being chained at the desk. I mean, how awesome is that? That she can choose to work or not work. She doesn't have to be chained to the desk, which I think is living the dream in 17 words. Meaningful work plus the freedom to choose. The reason Amanda is living the dream now is because she's working with a version of the work less, make more that actually works, and it works sustainably over time. She got there through 3 years of well-made decisions made in collaboration rather than alone. So it's still the same brand, it's still the same founder, it's just different structural conditions. And just as an aside, Amanda just had her biggest month ever in April 2026, while a lot of premium brands are quietly contracting in the current market. And here's Belle Art hitting new highs, not because of some clever tactic or fantastic deal she had on offer, but because consistent, well-made decisions made over time, stacked one on top of the other in collaboration, are the most reliable growth strategy there is. And they happen to also be the route to your freedom and flexibility of time. So where does this leave us now? You started your business for 2 reasons: meaningful work and more freedom over your time. If that deal stopped existing for you, or maybe it's never existed for you, and you want to explore what it might look like to get that kind of collaborative, strategic help to help you grow, then I reckon you should probably read Amanda's full case study. You'll find it at productpreneurmarketing.com. It's in the case studies menu. We'll link to it in the podcast show notes as well. And it walks you through the actual story of how Belle Art's growth happened and what's structurally different about how she runs her business now. Of course, if you'd rather have a personal conversation with me about what could shift in your own brand, you are welcome to book a brand growth strategy session with me, and you'll find that link as well on our website. It's not a sales pitch, so you don't need to worry about that. We just sit down and have a strategic conversation about what's actually going on in your business and where the right next moves might be for you. That's it for this week's episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. And, if you know another founder who might be stuck in this kind of rat race scenario right now, feel free to share the episode with them. Otherwise, I look forward, as always, to being in your ears again next week. Bye for now.